Hi, and welcome back to ScottiesTech.Info. I'm Scotty with my co-host Quietest. Keyboards. Most of the time I do a lot of programming, and that means I want a good keyboard. And there are four main things that I look for in a keyboard. The first is it has to be full size. The second is that it must be a wired keyboard. I don't want any of this wireless stuff with like the battery, and then, you got a keyboard, you don't need it to be wireless. If you don't want the wire running across your desk, what you do is you pick up your keyboard, you drill a hole in the desk, you route the cable down through the desk underneath, and you can, leave a little slack in the cable. It looks like a wireless keyboard, no wire, but you have the full reliability of a wired USB keyboard. Don't have to worry about the battery dying, don't have to worry about in the middle of your typing, low battery error, blah. It's just, and why have the Bluetooth if you don't need it? Just wire the dang thing. Anyway, so full size, wired keyboard. It must be backlit. It has to be an illuminated keyboard because, well, that's just kind of handy and kind of cool. And finally, it has to be reliable. Now, up until this point, actually about a year ago, I was using the Logitech K740 illuminated keyboard. And this keyboard got a 3 out of 4, according to my list of requirements. It's got low profile keys. It's very, very quiet. It's kind of a laptop type keyboard. It's very comfortable to type on. It's comfortable, it's quiet, it's illuminated, and they're about $79. The big problem with this keyboard is that roughly once every year, sometimes less, I would have to get a new one. And the reason is because the switches in them are not very reliable, or one of the keycaps would pop off because they're low profile keys. They have these tiny little plastic fingers, and the one of the little fingers would break and the key would pop up and it would start flopping or the control key would stop working, for example. Well, it would work, but I'd have to like bang it really hard. And I'm not like a jackhammer 2-finger typer. I'm kind of like a quasi touch typist. Since I do a lot of programming, I've been typing my whole life. So this was my favorite keyboard, and for about 5 years, I bought 5 of these things, just about one a year. And finally, it was a little over a year ago, I've had enough, I want a reliable keyboard. So what I did is I researched mechanical gaming keyboards. Now, gaming keyboards have mechanical switches. Each individual key has a mechanical switch. It's not unlike those of you who are old enough, like me, you may remember the IBM PC-AT and PC-XT keyboards. This was the beige keyboard where when you hit each key, it would go ka-dong, 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 like it was really, really loud. But the things weighed like 6 metric tons. You could drive a bulldozer over these things and they wouldn't break. Right, so here I am with my Logitech K740 illuminated keyboard, and I'm typing, and the control key pops off or something, and that would never happen with one of these IBM PC keyboards. These things were super, super durable. And gaming keyboards are kind of the same concept. Each individual keycap has its own mechanical switch. They're rated for like 50 million actuations, and instead of using, say, like the membrane layout of most standard keyboards, you get a dedicated mechanical switch that's really, really reliable for each key. And that's why these keyboards are very popular with gamers, because gamers, of course, are banging away on their keyboards, and they don't want keys popping off in the middle of their game, that sort of thing. So what I did anyway is I bought a SteelSeries Apex 7, and this is generally a pretty good keyboard. Currently, I think they're about $182, and of course, I got one with the red switches. These are like linear, silent, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, they're the quiet switch. One of the problems with gaming keyboards is that, kind of like the IBM PC keyboard, they're very, very noisy. There's spring noise, there's bounce noise. That people break it down into 6 different categories of noise. There's all kinds of reviews you can find if you Google it. But generally speaking, gaming keyboards have very noisy switches, and I wanted a quiet keyboard like the Logitech K740. So I got this SteelSeries Apex 7. It's got red keys. Boom. I was kind of happy with it. I was sort of unhappy because it was not as quiet. I mean, yes, it's at the time, it was one of the quietest gaming keyboards out there, and it has been very reliable, but it still is way, way noisier than, say, like your average laptop keyboard or the K740. So, right. Anyway, fast forward to the modern day, and a good buddy of mine asked me about, hey, I want to get a gaming keyboard, what would you recommend? So, of course, I said, well, here, I got this one, And anyway, a little while later, went over to his place and he said, oh, come check out my cool new gaming keyboard. And I was like, hey, come on, it's got to be. And he's like, go ahead and type on it. So I type on this thing. It was whisper quiet. And I'm like, what is this thing? I didn't recognize the brand. I had no idea. What he had done is he had bought a glorious GMMK full-size keyboard. And then he had bought individual switches and keycaps, and he had essentially built his own keyboard. So let me show you how that works. I had never even heard of Glorious. It's a relatively small company. I think they started making, their first thing was either switches or gaming keyboards. I can't remember, but there are all kinds of reviews out there. And of course, my friend, unlike me, did a really, really, really thorough review of all the different keyboards, the switch types, and he found the perfect combination. So that is now my current keyboard, and I'm going to show you what it takes to put one of these things together. So this is the glorious GMMK. As you can see, there are no actual keys on this thing, and if you look really close, you see there's kind of a hole there, and there's two little contacts because it's an RGB. It's a 16.7 million colors. You can configure each of these little LEDs. Each key can be a different color. You can have rainbow colors. You can do, you can have some keys are red and some are blue, whatever you want to do. You install the glorious software and you can customize it just like with the SteelSeries Apex 7. Anyway, so you've got this hole here for the key. You've got these two pins. There's your LED, and well, you get this. This is the bare bones version. It's about $69 on Amazon. So you buy this guy. It's a pretty good, solid keyboard. It feels very nice. It has a key puller there, little tool. You got a cable routing thing. It's pretty nice. And then what you need to do is you need to buy switches. Now these are Gazoo Boba U4 RGB switches. I got these on AliExpress, and the reason I got them was because, well, my friend recommended them. But you can see this is what the keys look like in a mechanical keyboard. And there you go. Each one of those is a key. Now, you may have noticed that there are extra little tabs on here. You've got the fat circle in the middle and then these two little tabs. And yet when we look at this keyboard, we see there are no holes there. Now, if you go on Glorious's website, they'll actually tell you, right, unless you get the Pro keyboard, this is just the standard one. If you have 5-pin switches, i.e., you have focus. There we go. You have 2 metal pins and 3 plastic pins. If you've got these 2 extra ones, you just have to snip them off. So in order to assemble this keyboard, what we're going to do is I'm just going to take my cutters, snip that pin off, focusing, snip that pin off. Now we have a 3-pin switch. So then all I have to do is, like, say I want to put the S key here, is I line it up, and I very carefully insert it. It snaps into place. Then what I'm going to do is you need some sort of keycaps. Now, you can get this Glorious with keycaps. I actually got these. This is the Razer PBT keycap upgrade set. They're kind of all standard. You'll notice this little picture here. This is one of the reasons I like it. You see how that green line there, when you're actually rubbing on it, the letters, because it's a backlit keyboard, that's actually kind of, the green is actually like a translucent plastic. And you'll notice that since the letter A kind of goes through the surface of the key, you won't wear off the letters, which is actually kind of good because I had that problem also with the K740. And the other thing is these are PBT keycaps. Many keys are made of various types of plastic. I think ABS is a popular one, and you'll notice that when you're using these types of keys, after you type on them for a while, they end up getting shiny, and you try to clean it off, and you realize that it's not actually oil on the key, it's just that you've actually sort of buffed the plastic and made it shiny, so now you have some keys that are shiny and some that are matte. And supposedly this PBT type of plastic doesn't have that problem. So I just got these, and we'll kind of open this up, and I'll show you. Where's my S key? Okay, there's S. Comes, you know, get all the little keys here, so let me just take that apart. I have some difficulty actually opening this thing. I'm apparently semi-impaired. There we go. Voila! So that's a keycap. It's the letter S, and that's the underside. You can see that little plus. It fits over this thing right here. But before we do that, I also bought some of these. These are glorious O-rings, and the idea here is that you take one of these O-rings and you put it around the little stalk there, just like that. Just get it on there, and then you stick the key on the keyboard. You'll notice that's very quiet. Now the purpose of the O-rings is that when you push the key down, it dampens some of the noise. Right, that's pretty much it. You just have to repeat this process. You'll notice that for the larger keys like the space bar, they have these extra support things already there. So all you have to do is put the other 102 switches in here, the O-rings, the keycaps, and Bob's your uncle. You've got a super awesome mechanical keyboard. Okay, so the deal is with the SteelSeries Apex 7, the switches are actually very quiet. The thing that's not quiet is when you push the key down, it's very quiet. When you take your finger off and it pops back up, that's when it actually makes all of its noise. And the O-ring isn't going to stop that. So they are very silent switches. The red switches, they are very silent, but it's kind of like the bounce up, the bounce back that actually creates the noise. And that's one of the things that this doesn't have. It's very, very quiet. Much quieter than the Apex 7 with the red switches. And right, so that's the story. Now, I should note that this set of Razer keycaps, the keyboard itself, the glorious GMMK full size, was $69. This set of Razer PBT keycaps was $29. The glorious O-rings, these are the thin ones. I'll put links to this in the description, of course. These were, I think, like $6.99 for a whole set to make your keys even quieter. And the most expensive part was actually this bag of Gazoo Boba U4 switches. These I got on AliExpress, as I said, and these guys are about $100 for a set of, I think they give you 110. So actually, I think they said they gave me, yes, 111 pieces, U4 RGB. Right. So if you want a keyboard, yes, some assembly is required, but if you want the absolute quietest gaming keyboard with reliable switches, this is the way to go. Now, one final note, obviously, because I put this together myself, I can replace these switches. And this was something that my friend taught me, and that is that my SteelSeries Apex 7, if a switch dies, it's not actually easy to replace the switch. And I think most people are under the impression that if you have a gaming keyboard, you can replace the switches. It turns out that with most gaming keyboards like the Apex 7, these switches are actually soldered in place. So if you want to replace one switch, like just your control key fails, on this keyboard, the glorious GMMK, the Gazoo Boba U4 switches, keycaps, whatever kind of keycaps you want, you put it together yourself. I just use the keycap puller and the switch puller tool that comes. Switch puller comes with the switches, and the keycap puller tool comes, it's in the bottom of the keyboard. I just use those two tools. I pull off the keycap, I remove the switch, I put a new switch in, stick the keycap back on, and I'm off and running. With my Apex 7, I can't do that. What I'd actually have to do is if one key dies, you got to turn it over, take the whole keyboard apart, desolder these two contacts, and then put your replacement key in. Now, this is also especially problematic if at some point I decide, look, these Boba switches, they're great, I love them, but I found something better. Well, with the glorious GMMK, it's completely modular, which means I can actually replace the switches myself. No soldering required, no nothing. It's very, very easy. Right. don't think that because you're getting a gaming keyboard, don't think like I did that that means you can replace the switches, because no, you can't, not easily. For example, if I decided to replace all the switches on my Apex 7, it's a 104 key keyboard, which means I would have 208 little metal pins to desolder, 208, and then I would have to resolder those 208 pins. Yeah, that's crazy. And in the end, this combination is the quietest mechanical gaming keyboard I have ever found. It is quite amazing. For a total cost of about $200, that's not cheap, but as I said, it's modular, the keys are replaceable, the keycaps are replaceable. It's kind of perfect. And considering that the SteelSeries Apex 7 goes for $182.99 at the minute on Amazon.com, you're paying 18 bucks more and you're getting something that's basically fully modular. Right, so that's the story. I am extremely happy with this keyboard for typing. It is extremely comfortable, it's extremely quiet, it's upgradable, and there you have it. If you actually know of a particular gaming keyboard that is even quieter than this, I'm all ears, because obviously, like I said, my friend, I thought I had found like the perfect one, the quietest one. My friend's like, no, I just read some forum posts and blah, 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 and he put together this awesome thing, which I just copied, so thanks. But if you have a favorite keyboard, let me know in the comments below. Maybe there are better switches and I'll have to upgrade it again. So, right, there you have it. For more techie tips, see ScottiesTech.Info. Thanks for watching. See you next time.